Hey everybody, this is Lokai and I'm going to do a puzzle breakdown here of Wil Strjbos Revenge Lock. Now, I've seen a lot of different things on blogs and whatnot, and it seems like the hardest part for people is putting this back together. So I'm going to take it apart, put it back together, and explain how and why what I'm doing along the way. Now, a quick breakdown of how this works. There's going to be two shafts going down it for the shackle to come in and out of. This one has a spring. This one has two different locking mechanisms for the shackle. So there's a hidden pin that floats back and forth here that you're not supposed to really see until you get it apart. And then there's this little pin right here, and it can move between these two because it's big enough to kind of stay above a gap here. It goes back and forth. And then there's a little pin down here called a wanderer, and that's going to float around too. So let's just get into it. These two pins here are coming from the back of the lock frame here itself, and we've got a brass key, as they call it, going down in here. So the first thing we need to do is unlock it. Right now this is loose, but it won't come out. That pin is locking it right there. So we need to go ahead and get the key loose, because that's what's holding it into the frame right now. Now this is being locked down. You wouldn't be able to turn it or anything because of this pin. There's a little hole in the key here. So what we're going to do is we're going to push the shackle in to get the holes lined up, push that, and it puts the pin down into the shackle. We're going to go ahead and pull this up all the way so we can just slide it on out. At this point, we don't want this here. It's going to block the wanderer in place. There's a hole in the bottom here of the key, and you can see through this now to see that there's a pin in there and holes, but this actually, when screwed in, holds it in place, which will mess you up. So the first thing we're going to want to do is deposit the wanderer. Now these notches will tell you which direction it's facing. Like I know right now that it won't come loose. Now if we do a complete quarter turn here to this notch, I might have already dropped it that quickly. Okay, so we got the one in there. Now we got to deposit the wanderer. So we're going to take it up here, go sideways, just like this. And hopefully, there we go, right there in that hole. So you see the wanderer in there. At this point, we need to get the shackle loose. So we need to go ahead and get this pin over here now. Well, I grab the wanderer. There we go. So that pin is now moved from here to here. All right. Now we go ahead and lock the key back in place, and the shackle comes completely out. Go ahead and get the spring out. Go ahead and turn it to the left, which is going to drop the wanderer into this shaft here. So now we can take the key out. There's the wanderer. So now you can see kind of inside here, there's a pin sliding between these two, too big to go through this hole, and then that thin pin goes across. So if we go here, you'll see the thin pin, and you can't see this because it's below that. So putting it back together. All right, so this is actually the real puzzle that Wil created, was that putting this back together requires a lot of time thinking about the pathways of all this and the logic it takes to make it happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you. We're going to have to go ahead and get the right side pin over here. We're going to go ahead and get the wanderer in the center here. We're going to bring the pin side around to the left. We're going to go ahead and put her down inside of here. We're going to make sure all the pins go to the left. Put this down in halfway, then let that one pin fall back to the right. We're going to come all the way down to where it locks the pin in place, just like that, the key I should say. And then we're going to put the spring in here, and then everything's out of this shaft now. So this will go straight down. We need to go ahead and lock it by turning it left, and now we can pull the key out. And now we got to figure out where we are to move the Wanderer back up here to the left. So we do this. I don't know if I can show this on camera because Now as you're trying to do it, you'll feel a pin catching the key in the middle here. You'll have to tilt it to get it loose again each time. There's the Wanderer. You can see it, there it goes right there. We go all the way in to keep these from moving around. All right, so we got our Wanderer here. Now we got to move this pin over to this side to lock the shackle in place so that we can then lock this back down. Because if we lock the shackle with this pin here, we can make it spring up and this pin can go lock that part. I know, it's a mess. So we come in very slowly. Let's see if I can show this. It's hard to do this on this camera. There we go. So we're on this side now. That means that this hole is open to go back in the frame. And now we just need this hole open to go back in the frame. So here's what we gotta do. We're gonna go all the way up to the Wanderer. We're gonna put the Wanderer back in the key. There it goes. Now you're gonna wanna stop after you do it and turn left again to bring the key back down. Now the Wanderer is in the key and our one pin is on the left. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it a quarter to the left here, so it's 3 notches. We're gonna go down and let the pin, the little pin here, fall into the key by hanging it right, and then we're gonna pop the shackle. Now the shackle's loose but locked. The key is in place, we're almost at start position. Now you take this and screw it in, because at this point, up to this point, it would have been a hindrance to the Wanderer moving about. So now we're reset. It's at this point that breathe on it. I'm gonna polish the back because you don't want to leave fingerprints on it long term. That's how this one kind of got a little darker on the back here, is by the fingerprints being left on it after it was solved. So we're gonna go ahead and lock this bad boy back up. Oops, you gotta turn it left to do that. And now the key is loose again. And we need that to be able to pull up so that we can actually put it down in this frame. There we go, enough of that. So you make sure the spring's in there, you drop it down in the frame, and then you're gonna make sure you still at that quarter turn left. You're gonna push that in, let the pin fall back down into the brass, and pop the shackle up. Now you got a locked but movable shackle. You've got the brass key in place, it's locked in. Give it a little clean and polish there, and you have a reset Revenge Lock. I really like this puzzle a lot. It took me about a day or two to get it all apart, but then it took me about 3 days to figure out how to get it back together. Trial and error, until I actually just sat down, thought about the layout and the order things would have to go through as things moved around and was being put back in for it to end up exactly like this. And then it took a day to just kind of really get that down pat. I feel like you should take your time with a puzzle like this, really live with it and learn it, and then, you know, figure out exactly how it works so that you can move right through it like this, show your appreciation for it, and that maximizes the lifetime of the puzzle as well. So I'm Lokai. This is Wil Strjbos Revenge Lock, also known as the Wanderer, and that is a breakdown of how it works. Thanks.